if we don't have an idea of the scope of the life we want to live, we're just planning for the next year. If we could plan for the next 6 years with possibly an ending in mind, it's much easier to focus on the planning objectives that matter and filter out the planning objectives that don't matter quite as much.
Welcome to the MAdvisor podcast. I'm Paul Morton, a certified financial planner professional. The MAdvisor podcast exists to help busy professionals get an educated and clear vision about money. Talking about money is difficult enough as it is. Discover the confidence in creating a customized financial plan in a calm and casual environment. Not every professional should have the same financial plan. Everyone is different. Let's celebrate that. Every financial plan should be different too. Music used in this show is by the band Forum. Discussions in this show should not be construed as specific recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professional before making important investment decisions. Securities offered through Cambridge Investment Research Inc., a broker-dealer. Member of FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors Inc., a registered investment advisor. Cambridge and MAdvisor are not affiliated.
Welcome to the MAdvisor podcast. I'm Paul Morton. Today we're talking a little bit about summer to-dos in the financial planning world, really on less of a tactical or knocking out a to-do list and more of a strategic manner, which the strategic manner would be putting together maybe more of the big picture items. And summer is just such a great time for this. Things are usually a little less crazier, not for everybody, but for those with kids out of school, without the school deadlines. There's a chance to just relax a little bit more, or at least work and come home and have less school. There are a lot of activities, still a lot of running around, but less so than when school's involved. So this really gives us a chance to slow down, sit down, maybe even map out a little bit of vision for, let's call it the next 6 months to 6 years. And what I mean by that is you're able to sit down, absorb, and digest what you want for your life, whatever that may be. And that seems like maybe a weird task, but in the financial planning world, that is a gigantic advantage in setting up your finances and setting up your planning for moving forward in the future, because oftentimes we look at the things we have right now, and if we don't have an idea of the scope of the life we want to live, we're just planning for the next year. If we could plan for the next 6 years with possibly an ending in mind, it's much easier to focus on the planning objectives that matter and filter out the planning objectives that don't matter quite as much. So an example might be on a summer vacation. If we are lucky enough to go on a summer vacation, look at the situation and measure how important is traveling. It might be the most important thing in your life, and it might be a nicety to do 1 to 2 times a year. And then go a little bit deeper. What is it about traveling that you like? If that's one of the highest measures on your objective list, is it just discovering places you've never been? Is it eating foods that you don't normally get to eat and surrounding yourself in other cultures? Is it spending time with certain people? And that's just one example. So it doesn't have to be traveling, but these types of conversations I often label as quote unquote glass of wine conversations. So I'll tell a client to go have a glass of wine type of conversation, and a glass of wine is figurative. It means it's kind of a deeper conversation. You should really just sit down and you have an objective to converse about, but it should just be kind of an open, flowing conversation. And so sit down with whatever your quote unquote wine is. It might be wine. It might be a glass of water or orange juice, whatever it may be. But you just sit down and with nothing else to do for the time being, however long it takes to consume a glass of wine, you have a conversation that's at least started in one direction. What is it we like about traveling, or whatever it may be? And you just figure out what you want. And sometimes you need to hear yourself talk just a little bit before you can figure out what you want, just somewhat thinking out loud. And then you figure out what your spouse wants. And they might need some time to think out loud. And so it might be some kind of a looping conversation, and that's okay. But just to get some ideas out there, let those breathe and stew for a little bit. And it might not be till a few days later that you even put the conversation into perspective and really file it in its right place. And that's okay. But then we set up objectives through those conversations that become clearer and clearer days later, sometimes years later. And these ideas that we instill and we converse about really help shape the way you want to live your life, and then how to plan for that as well. Thank you for listening. I'm Paul Morton with IMAdvisor. IMAdvisor helps physicians with their financial planning. You can visit im-advisor.com for more information. Once again, I appreciate you listening and being here for the IMAdvisor podcast.